Alright, us. Now we're going to go to kicking techniques, geri wasa. The kicking techniques are going to be straightforward and simple for every single one of you to be able to apply an effective kicking technique right now in this moment. First of all of the kicking techniques can be performed at different levels. You have low techniques, you have middle techniques, and you have high techniques. If you don't have enough flexibility to reach to the level of your face, don't worry. You work your flexibility slowly but surely, and you're going to be able to pick up your leg in a better way. Now, it is fundamental to understand that all of the kicking techniques and every single technique of Hajime Dachi Kaikan is performed and is created and directed towards the effectiveness in a self-defense situation. So let's go straight forward to the action. Let us begin with the front kick, the universal kick. A lot of people know it in theory, but they don't perform it the correct way. First of all, the main point is for you to point your knee towards your opponent. So if my opponent is in front of me, I need to raise my knee and point towards my opponent. That's like a gun. I have a gun and I'm going to look the target and I have to point it straight forward to the place that I want to land the shot. The same thing goes for the kick. You raise your knee and that knee needs to be pointed towards the opponent. You hit with this part of your foot. This is the shusoku, the ball of the foot. In other cases, you can hit with your heel, with the kakato. With the kakato, it looks like this, but it is more like a pushing technique. And I don't want so much for you to learn now the pushing motion, but to learn the strike. So you're going to hit with the shusoku, with the ball of your foot. There is a slight pivot in your front foot. You need to open your hip a little bit, and you raise your knee, pointing towards your opponent. And from there, you already have the position of the shusoku ready. You straighten your leg and you go backwards. If you're going to strike the midsection, you're going to strike in here at the belt line. You're going to strike the stomach. Maybe you want to strike your opponent's chest, or you want to strike his or her shin. If you're going to attack to the testicles, then it is not the front kick anymore. It is called kingeri. You simply kick the pills, and it's going to be done with this part of the foot, the high soku, with the upper part of the foot. But that is the same family of the front kick. You point it with your knee, but you strike at the groin. Now let us begin with the front kick to the midsection. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, the people that can do it, they can strike towards your opponent's head. 6, 7, 8, 9, and the last one, 10. All right. Now, rest a little bit. The objective of this class, the objective of this training is not just for you to get tired, but for all of you to learn. That's the main objective of what I'm doing in here. The front kick is super effective. A lot of people don't use it enough during their sparring and during their training sessions. And you can see a lot of incredible knockouts by persons like Anderson Silva or Lyoto Machida that they have knocked out in the UFC, tough opponents, with the front kick. So it's a very effective technique. From the side, I'm going to show it now from the side. You're going to be in your fighting stance, and you pivot a little bit, your front foot, you raise your knee, pointing towards your opponent, and you stretch. And you stretch your leg. You hit with the chusoku, with the ball of the foot. It's very important to go back, or sometimes, if the dynamic of the fight is so, you go forward, but you always end up in your fighting stance. You always end up in the fighting stance that I have already described in the previous section of this video. Alright, now breathe a little bit, rest a little bit, and we're going to go with the Mawashi Geri now, with the roundhouse kick, my favorite kick. The Mawashi Geri is super effective. As some of you might know, Hajime Dachi Kaikan comes from the fusion that my father, Cancho Adolfo Corredor Baptista, did of judo, karate, jiu-jitsu, and kobudo. And the two styles of karate in which my father excelled were Kyokushin karate and Ashihara karate. And these roundhouse kicks are performed with the same ideas and with the same concepts that they are performed in those two styles of karate. That was the way that my father taught them to me, and that's the way that I teach it to my students. I'm going to do everything right now with the back leg. It's going to be way easier for people to understand. It is an easier kick to perform. Of course, you can do it with the front leg, but the dynamics are a little bit different and it's more complicated. Now, remember the thing that I said before. It doesn't matter if you don't have enough flexibility to reach your opponent's head. Slowly but surely you train your flexibility and you're going to reach that point. The good thing about the low kick and the middle kick and the high kick in the Mawashi Geri is that all of them are effective. You can simply strike your opponent's knee or your opponent's leg with a good low kick, and that's going to hurt. So let us briefly explain each one of them. The low kick, performed to the knees of your opponent and to the legs of your opponent. The striking surface is the shin. You're going to try to hit with the upper part of the shin bone. You need to pivot your hip. If you don't pivot your hip enough, you're going to kick like this, and that's incorrect and that's dangerous. A lot of people have broken their leg by kicking in that incorrect way. So you need to pivot your leg. And a good pointer is to move your hand forward a little bit. You keep distance from your opponent, you're protecting your face from a counterattack, and you're forcing yourself to pivot your head. From the side, I'm in here, and I do this. 1, and I do this. 2, and I do this. 3, right? That's the low kick. The middle kick, you strike it also with the shin, or if you have enough flexibility in your toes to curl them backwards, you can strike with the shusoku as well. If you strike with the shusoku, your middle kick, and you're able to land on your opponent's ribs, that's going to be really destructive, really effective, so it's also a good idea. So from here, with the shin bone to the midsection of your opponent, to his spleen usually, or you're going to attack with your chusoku if you have enough flexibility in your toes to curl them backwards. And now the high kick. All of them are Mawashi Geri. All of them are the same kick, but we perform it at different levels of height. The high kick, we pivot our leg once again, and we hit with the upper pad of our foot, or we hit with the shin bone. So it's going to be like this, right? It's very important to pivot the hip. If you don't pivot the hip enough, you're going to be committing a mistake, and you're going to end up performing a kick like this. It's good to look for a picture, but that's not a Mawashi Geri. That's a Mai Geri to the side. Mawashi Geri, you need to pivot your hip. Necessarily. There's no other way to do it. Alright. Now, there are different styles of low kicks, of roundhouse kicks, of Mawashi Geri. But the main style in Hajime Dachi, as I said before, comes from the school of Ashihara and Kyokushin. So now, don't focus, don't concentrate on my left leg, just concentrate on my right leg. I move like this. I raise my heel and try to bring my heel towards my buttocks. Just like this. In this angle. while I'm performing the twisting motion, the pivoting motion with the foot that stays on the floor. And from here, while I'm circling, while I am pivoting, I just straighten the leg. And that's the mawashi geri. So if you're in front of your opponent, you want to attack his leg, ha, mawashi geri gedan. Ha, mawashi geri gedan. I bring it back now because I'm striking the air. There's no one in front of me. But usually, if you are facing an opponent, you're going to leave it a little bit more time there and you go backwards. Or you attack and you go forward. The main focus, the main point is to always remain in your fighting stance. Always with your hands up and always maintaining the integrity of your fighting stance. The same thing goes for the middle kick. I want to strike my opponent with a middle kick and I do exactly the same thing. And I go back to my fighting stance. Now, to wrap up this class, we're going to combine some of the elements that we saw before. For instance, we're in our fighting stance and we attack our opponent with a front maitasuki, with a jab to his face. He is concerned, he is preoccupied with blocking and with dealing with an attack to his face, so his brain, his attention is directed towards the upper part of his body. He's like trying to block. So you go there and you pivot and you strike the leg of your opponent. Just like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You see, every single time I keep the integrity of my guard. Every single time I keep the integrity of my guard. Now, if I strike with the yakosuki to my opponent's belly, towards his stomach, he's going to be preoccupied with dealing with the punch towards his belly. So his body posture, his body language will go downwards. He's going to close his guard more times than not. So, I'm in here, I attack, and I pivot and I go with my washigiri judan, and I attack his head. Why? Because he received the punch here, he's like, oh, preoccupied with that attack, and then suddenly he receives the attack of my washigiri of the high kick. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I want to clear something up. Before I said that this is wrong. If you're going to pivot your leg towards the side and at the same time you're throwing a yakosuki. Why? Because you're going to lose your balance towards the left side. Now I'm doing it because it is different. The main focus of this combination is to end up with the mawashigeri. So I'm using the initial step to pivot my leg towards the side, and I already did the pivoting motion for my high kick to go in and to rip off the head of my opponent. The same thing goes for the middle kick. Let's say that your opponent is in front of you and you throw a right hook towards his face. The opponent needs to deal with it. He raises up his guard and you attack with a kick of your own towards his ribs. 1, 2. Remember, you can also attack with your chusoku. 3, 4, and 5. That would be the middle kick. Us. Well, I wish health to every single one of you. Keep on training, stay safe, and stay strong. Us.